Hello, 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 and welcome. I am indeed the Texas's Shane Moore, and I'll be here for the next 2 hours taking your questions and comments and personal experiences. We'll be talking tonight about interdimensional portals. Are they fact or fiction? Do interdimensional portals exist, or are they simply Hollywood fiction? Could these portals be wormholes through space and time? And if so, what would be the implications of this? The real question is does this technology, does this type of thing exist? And if so, how long has it existed? What has it caused? What will it cause? And what could it possibly do and mean to all of us? We'll be talking about that and much more, including the Philadelphia experiment, where it was said that the United States Navy wanted to make their ships, destroyers, wanted to make them invisible to radar. The Germans, they were using torpedoes to sink the ships and everything. And so they supposedly did this experiment where they were going to make the ship invisible to radar, but it was said that they literally caused the ship to dematerialize and completely vanish with the crew for something like 4 hours. And then the ship supposedly, now I don't have proof of this, I wasn't there, but this has been documented, it supposedly reappeared in Norfolk, Virginia, and then reappeared back, believe it or not, in Philadelphia in shipyard 4 hours later. The only thing is that something very, very unsettling, something very frightening, something that we don't even want to think about may have taken place, or possibly took place, when the ship was gone into what could be described as hyperspace. And we'll talk about that and much, much more when we come back. And I will introduce an addition to the Texas Live podcast, my new co-host. So when I come back, so just get relaxed, kick back, and get ready for a very exciting and informative show that will be much, much more than just thought-provoking. Trust me on that. So, we'll be back in 3 minutes.
Call me on a late night and ask me if I'm alone. Tell me who could come by and make me hang up the phone. I got roses on my bed, I got pillows for your head, I got everything we need right here. We be up all night through the highs and the lows. We be picking fights till it's out of control. Then we say sorry like it's nothing. Yes, that's how we roll. The highs and the lows. Oh, 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 oh. up all night through the highs and the lows. We be picking fights till it's out of control. Then we say sorry like it's nothing. Guess that's how we roll. The highs and the lows. Oh, 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 oh. So call me on a late night. Tell me you could come by. Just count on me tonight, tonight, tonight. We'll be up all night through the highs and the lows. We be picking fights till it's out of control. Then we say sorry like it's nothing. Guess that's how we roll. The highs and the lows. Oh, oh, oh,
And I am back. I hope everybody's doing well. And anyway, we are going to talk about a subject tonight that is, well, could it exist or not? I mean, I believe that anything's possible, and it is, and because of that, you can't really discount it. But anyway, we will get into that and much, much more. I want to introduce my new co-host, Sue Ellen.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Shane.
Hello, hello, hello. Let me turn the volume down for you. Just get everything set as far as the sound, and it's much, much different when we go live. I'm working with it, and but trying to get rid of static. I'm told there's static. So anyway, we shouldn't have it, but we'll take care of it. So
I'm picking up a little too.
Don't worry about it. It's just a matter of adjusting it right. But when we say portals, when we talk about portals, what do you think about that? What do you see a large thing like CERN, like the Large Hadron Collider, with the plasma like they have in the okay. Michelle says there's feedback, so hold on just a second. Let me see what the deal is here. The calls go through Skype, and so I don't know. Let me see here. Okay, what about now? Any feedback now? Sound check. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Is that better? Okay. All right.
You sound better now.
Okay. Just keep telling
Hi,
me.
Michelle. Hi, Mona.
Okay, Mona, you say no feedback, and I don't know what you mean by, you say something static. Just no. I'm sorry, I can't decipher that. So if you could please tell me, you say there's no feedback. Are you saying that there's no static?
I hear like a rushing
You
sound.
say just static. Okay. Okay. What about now?
I hear the same. Now it's gone.
Okay. All right. That's so weird because I'm not hearing it here. It's crystal clear. Matter of fact, I've got everything turned down here. So
I went a bit from my phone.
I don't know. Same thing happened last time because I'm not showing anything at all that, because like I said, I've got everything turned completely down. And okay, you say that it's better. You're, okay. Well, I will continue working on it as we talk. So if you could just give us feedback, then well, feedback's a bad word. If you could just let us know how it's going, I will try to adjust the mixer and get it. Okay, so portals. It they have seemingly been around for years and years. Well, for eternity. I mean, since many years ago. Matter of fact, there were different there were different accounts of people that seemingly traveled in time and space since ancient times. How there have been accounts how people would be walking through the woods, so to speak, and they would walk like a different path, or
And
turn
mysteriously disappear.
turn a certain way, and then they would find themselves, well, yes, but they would find themselves instantly seeing people dressed in clothes that were like much older. Like it would be like us walking in the woods and turning by a tree or something and seeing people dressed in like Victorian era clothes, or finding ourselves with people dressed as they did in the Renaissance, or maybe even something further back than that. And this has been something that was talked about, that was documented, that happened in southwestern France. It was southwestern France, southern France. That there have been accounts of people that were walking, and they suddenly find themselves in a different time, a different place. Well, not a different place, but a different time, and seemingly space it's transposed onto the current space. So, which is weird because they actually saw it said they actually saw they saw people that were talking about King Louis and Marie Antoinette. Now, I don't know if this is people making this up or what, but these were two women in their 60s, and they didn't have anything to gain by sharing this. I mean, they certainly didn't, wasn't something that they did if anything, they would have kept quiet about it, so people wouldn't think they were crazy. But they felt the need to share it, and when they did, there were other people that had similar accounts in the same area. Now, that area that I'm talking about in southwestern France is a small village, and the surrounding area, it's, like I said last podcast, or it's been two or three episodes ago, I talked about how the Great Pyramid is massive. I mean, it's very impressive, very massive, and 13.5 acres is the base. But when you consider what is in southwestern France, it is a large, and when I say large, it is absolutely, unbelievably huge and beyond what we can even comprehend. This is a structure, an outdoor structure. I think I may have just taken care of the static. Mon, if you could let me know, I would appreciate it. Michelle, thank you for letting us know. But so this is a outdoor structure. It's an outdoor sacred place, a sanctuary, a sanctum that was constructed. I say constructed. Okay. Its markers, or the shape, its structure, is marked by actual mountain peaks, and it's in the form of a pentacle, and it is it is pointing up, but nevertheless it is a 5-pointed star, and it is 40 square miles. 40 square miles, and it is pinpointed, supposedly, within an inch. There are churches, there are holy places, sacred places. Okay. Well, I'm not doing the show by a waterfall. I wish that was the case. Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to do one other thing. Let's see. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. I hope that helps. And if not, then I'm definitely going to take everything in and get it scanned, and make sure that I'm not missing something, because I don't think I am, but you never know. I could be. Anyway, so they this is a 40 square mile outdoor tabernacle, or cathedral, really. And so it is very, it's huge. I mean, this is like, how could this take place? Okay, Mom, thank you. Yes, it's just plaguing. Okay, what about now? Is there static now? Hello. Okay. All right. That's it. Okay. It is Sue Ellen's line. Let me work on that. So we have located that. So, okay, Sue Ellen, say something, please. Sue Ellen, are you there? Hello, hello, hello.
I'm here.
Okay, you're there? Okay. All right, hold on just a second. Okay, say something else, please.
Hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, okay.
Now I hear feedback.
Yeah.
So it's my connection.
This is awful because you can't. We can set it, and we can run everything, but when we go live, for some reason, everything changes, and it's just so we'll
Maybe if you went to a landline. If I went to a landline, it would be better because it's my cell phone right now.
Okay, well, let's try that, and you can just call me back on.
Okay, I have to. I'll send you the number. Okay.
Okay, or okay, yeah, all right. Thank you, and we'll try that. Okay, now, while she's, I apologize for that. While she is going to call back, tell me how it sounds now, because I think that line has something to do with it. So if you could just let me know something. But anyway. Okay. Here I am. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Is there... Okay. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Nona. Yes, okay. Should be able to hear me loud and clear now. Yes, I had it turned down because of her line was causing, I don't know, causing feedback or static, but I can't hear it. So it's just, I was just going by what you were saying. Okay. Okay. Very frustrating. I don't know. I have no idea what is causing this. It should not be. It just should not be. There's no reason for it. Everything I do, every turn that I make, it seems like that there is, it's just static, just more and more static. So, I don't know, but Mom says stay calm. Calm for me would be throwing this mixer out the window. That would be calm for me. Thank you, Sheila. Okay. Maybe we are making progress because, yeah, right. Yeah, because when this electric current fires, trust me, I am frustrated. And so maybe that's what did it. Yes, I did, and I'm about to call you, but I was busy getting everything tuned, so hopefully now, I don't know what happened. I guess maybe I was so frustrated that I somehow zapped the thing with, I don't know. But I did not do anything. I didn't turn any knobs. I didn't do anything different. It just changed. So, thank you. Okay, I'm going to call you, Sue Ellen. Okay. Let's see here. All right. And you can rest assured that I'm going to take a picture. You can rest assured I'm going to take a picture of the mixer, the settings, and so I will have it if we finally reached a point of no static and no feedback. So testing. Did that take care of it?
You sound good to me.
Okay, and Michelle, Sue Ellen. Can you hear Sue Ellen, and is there static when she speaks? Say something.
Can you hear me, Mona?
Okay, there's a delay of like 15 seconds, so.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, anyway, I'm not getting an answer, so I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, she answered.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a 20-second delay. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Okay, and if there's any more problems, tell me, and the mixer will cease to be. Anyway.
So south of France.
South of France, there is a 40 square mile outdoor structure. There's no roof on it. No one would know it was there until someone in the supposedly the Priory of Sion, Sion, that the Grand Masters were supposedly people like Leonardo da Vinci, Sandro Botticelli, Jean Cocteau, and also Isaac Newton. These different people that were into things like alchemy, different studies, different subjects that weren't altogether considered wholesome that day. And many of them had to write or had to share their information in code because the church would burn them at the stake for even thinking of such a thing. So
that's why they originally started the secret society.
Right, is to stay under the radar. All the while, there were many.
Able to keep their scientific inquiry.
Right, and there were many cardinals, bishops, hell, even popes that were into it, that were studying the same things, and but as far as appearances, they couldn't let it be known. Not that it was so much a bad thing, but they didn't want the regular people, they didn't want the masses to see them doing it or to know that they were doing it and then have them do it and find the same power or the same unique energy that they were discovering, which is why that they did it. Now,
what was this place called?
This place was it's not really called. It really doesn't have a name, mainly because
it's a building structure.
No, it has no top. There's no top. There's no walls, but it is a 40 square mile pentagram, or a pentacle, 5-pointed star, and the points are, believe it or not, are marked by mountain peaks. And these mountains show signs of being cut. I'm talking the entire mountain. Cut and somehow melded, or a mazer was used or something to melt the rock. You can see the beads. It looks just like it has been welded. And we're talking mountains. Now, I don't know how that would take place with something that massive, but we're talking something that is many, many more times larger than the Great Pyramid. And we're just talking about one mountain, not the 5 peaks that are in alignment within an inch. And the way that this was discovered was there were certain people within the Priory of Sion that were painters, artists, and they painted and they encoded in their paintings certain geometry, sacred geometry, that told where this place was. Okay, well, back then, nobody, there weren't planes or anything, so you couldn't. So there was a very, very select few people that knew where this place was. Now, when, with the airplanes that we have now, there were people that took paintings and they took maps and they overlaid, and lo and behold, they found where these certain points line up, flew over, and there it is. It's there, but it can only be seen from plane. Because it's so enormous. Now, this place in southwestern France is also the most powerful. Natural. It has the most powerful natural magnetism on the planet. So when you have magnetism, you also have electricity. So it's an electromagnetic field, and they say that the reason for this is, okay, Michelle, the main peak is
I'm finding it in Kazakhstan.
No.
Mysterious pentagram.
No. This is called the sacred place, I guess what you would say.
Right.
And but
is that what Henry Lincoln from the Holy Blood, Holy Grail guy?
Yes. Henry Lincoln has researched it. Look up Nicholas Poussin. He encoded it in his paintings. This is where this is going to sound really crazy, but I want you to know that it is that the researchers and the scientists, the physicists at CERN, they are no longer they are no longer speaking, and this really shocked me, is when Dr. Geordie Rose, the physicist that scientist that founded D-Wave quantum computers, and very, very intelligent man. if you listen to the speech he gave, I mean, this guy, they're not hiding it anymore. They're speaking just plainly and matter-of-factly, and it's like, you know what? If you don't believe it, that's fine, because it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It's true. He comes out and he says, and please excuse the language, but I'm quoting exactly what he said. He comes out and he says, you know, we are on the verge of, he says, creating, he says, finally, a quantum computer. And I'm like, oh, that is a bad idea. Like, that's probably the worst idea that I could even think of. And I can think of some pretty horrible things. But
well, not only that, they're actually monitoring us. You know, what our likes, what we search for, or what we do.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, they can actually, with those computers, predict the outcome of someone's behavior.
Well, right, and that's exactly what he said. Is, I mean, he admitted this. He said right now, he said there is data and information being collected from everybody. He says, you know, information is valuable. How valuable? Well, I'm saying information is more valuable than gold. Trust me. Information is power. Because, why? Because it can be used for so many things, and there are people in power that it can be used to blackmail them.
Well, that's what the whole church started with the confessions.
Right, exactly. Very good. I'm impressed.
Very smart.
Most people, they say, how did the church gain information? Confession.
And those mobsters really believed that.
They did.
Go out and kill people.
Absolutely.
And go to the priest and get forgiveness.
Absolutely.
They believed in it, hook, line, and sinker as well.
And these don't think for 1 minute that your politicians, that they don't go and confess to a priest and look at how even the most powerful politicians, how they act, how meek they are around the Archbishop of New York. It is like this guy has the power to crush them in so many ways, and they're as meek as a lamb. Even the supposed ones that don't take anything off anybody, they're like, oh, they're just depowered, I guess you could say, around these people, and it's sickening. But this he said, Geordie Rose said that's what
you still do it to this day, yeah.
That's what he said, that's what was taking place, was that, you know, he said it's no secret. He says that everything runs on information, and he says there's so much information. He said, and most of it is encrypted. And he said they don't have the necessary power to decrypt it. He said, but with quantum computing, he said it will be a cakewalk. He said it will be able to go and get this, decrypt the archived information on every person on the planet, or every person that's connected to the internet. Now you tell me,
including our DNA,
which I believe is going to be how that it will connect to us, because your DNA, your body has a biofrequency, and that biofrequency comes from your DNA. That's my theory. And everyone
Well, the
has,
electricity that they generate, they can also see your electromagnetic spectrum. They can also identify you because it's like a fingerprint.
right. And so
in many ways.
and so is your biofrequency. Everyone has a different frequency. So people that are saying, well, I'm not going to get the chip, I'm not going to get the RFID chip, you know what? That is a diversion. That is, they are saying that, they're saying, well, you might possibly get chipped. They want you to think about that while they tell you to send in your DNA so they can test your ancestry, so you can find out about your ancestry. They're not doing it so you can find out about your ancestry. They're doing it because they want to study your DNA. And people say, well, they already have our DNA when we were born.
Your DNA and your habits, what type of person you are,
capabilities
you have.
Yes.
It's for genetic, engineering.
Well, also, what they want to do is
they can make a genetically perfect human being.
What they want to do is they want to take your DNA when you were born, and they want to compare it to your DNA now and see if you have activated any of your latent DNA or junk DNA. They want to see if there's a difference, if there's been an increase in the percentage of activity of active DNA. And if there happens to be, then you're going to have their full attention, because they're interested in how people do that. Seemingly, they're going to want to know if you've done it at will, if it was involuntary. Yeah, it's not good. Keep your DNA to yourself. Do not send it in, because it was proven just 3 or 4 months ago that one of the largest DNA testing places online was actually a CIA front, or it was a front for the FBI. And you're thinking, what do they want with the DNA? Well, DNA is
right.
I think it's hyperdimensional, and it's much more than what we can even comprehend.
Yeah.
But Geordie Rose, and you're right, Michelle, it's already here. Geordie Rose says, and he's just matter of fact, it's just like, hey, he says, quantum computing will be able to reach into the other endless dimensions, and he says, and pull things out. He says, pull information out of these other parallel realities, he says, that are endless. And I'm sitting here going, okay, this is not a Saturday Night Live skit. This is not a TV show. This is not a movie. This is real. This is real, And there's people that are sitting there and they're listening to this guy talk about this, and they don't get it. They don't get what he's saying. What?
Yeah, and you also have to read the fine print, and they could sell off your information to another company, just like they do the mortgage. So you never know who can get your information.
Right.
And problems is they can even build something that specifically targets your DNA and can kill you.
Right. Absolutely.
Assassinations.
Absolutely. Now, good point, Sue Ellen, because the truth is they have come so far in bioengineering, genetic engineering, that they can now create a virus. They can create a synthetic virus that only affects people with certain DNA markers, with certain genetic markers. So they can drop it, say they can drop it on an entire city, and no one would be affected except those that had that certain those markers. So that's really scary. I mean, it really is. Okay, Michelle, you say, wow, the ancestry, it's all our DNA. The Anunnaki and others are harvesting our DNA, and if we are in their bloodline, they can harvest from us. Well, that I respectfully disagree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with it, but I just I do believe that there was a group of advanced beings, the Anunnaki or whatever, but I guess
I think there's. Go ahead.
I guess since it hasn't happened to me, I can't really say yes, this is taking place or it's not. So I'm just going to be neutral on that. And
Can I give a little theory I have?
absolutely, that's what we're here for.
Definitely a theory. But I go back even like they study the Rh negative, especially the O negative blood type here at the University of Nevada, and they even go into it about the lore of Atlantis. This is me. You know, I had a vision one day, and I saw like Atlantis. I saw like advanced civilization collapse. You know, and go, you know, under the water, whatever happened to them, the destruction. But then on other parts of the earth, they had, you know, very low consciousness people all over. And I think the Atlanteans, Lemurians, whatever you want to call them, I think that they took that knowledge and they individually went to places and planned and separated the earth under a control, and they've been doing it ever since.
Separated the earth?
It's hard to explain. I mean, what did you ask?
You said that they separated the earth?
No, that they went to the indigenous people all around, you know, that were, you know, they didn't have a consciousness or awareness. You know, these were just very tribal people.
Okay.
What's the word? You know, and I think that they went to them as gods in a lot of places and had them do a lot of things. I mean, there's so much evidence, you know, with the Mayans.
Right.
You know,
Well,
and their mathematics. And like you said, the fact that you could actually measure everything starting from the Giza pyramid to every location.
right.
Everything is like mathematically designed. They could even show you the distance from the moon.
Right,
you know?
right. And that's just it. What we're talking about are the interdimensional portals that I believe, and I'll tell you why I believe. Mainly because it's very strange. It's very strange how it just came to me, and I began researching it, and then it was confirmed in a very weird, unsettling way. But this is the gist of it, is that this place in southwestern France, the 40 square mile, 5-pointed star that's marked by mountain peaks that have obviously been moved by some force, some way, somehow, and welded. The rock has been melted. You can see the beads, just like welding beads. This place has the strongest natural magnetism on the planet. This means that this is a field. This is an electromagnetic field, and it's very, very strong. So what has happened is that this place it's called the sacred place, the sacred area, and there's been many people that have gone there. Now, what it is imagine two soap bubbles, one being our reality, and the other being an alternate reality, and that the bubbles they press into each other, and that's where you have these time slips. It's where you have these people that are in our reality. In this area, it's been reported, and they're walking, and they see people from the
from different times.
Different times and everything.
Have you ever watched? It's on Netflix called The Ministry of Time. Okay,
No.
it's subtitled in Spanish, but they actually they go through doors, and they go through different their portals into different time frames. So, and their job is to keep history the same, so it doesn't change.
Well, right.
But all these other people are finding out about the interdimensional portals and trying to change history. So it's constantly they're having to go in wars and having to go in battles. It's a great show, but it's talking about the interdimensional portals right there.
Well,
they're just walking through it.
Well, the what has taken place is that that this place in southwestern France, it has been noted by many. Isaac Newton knew about it, Leonardo da Vinci, all these very intelligent people that were what? They were so far ahead of their time. And people say that, but they don't realize that they're probably speaking literally. They were ahead of their time. How did they know what they knew? Could it be that, hey, they saw it because they were there? They were here. And
or somebody knew about the portal, came through it, and had them do it for specific reasons.
Well, it's been said that that something did come through the main portal, and the one of time travel, but when you think about it, it's a paradox. Now think about this, please. And it seems really simple. It's simple to say, and it's kind of tricky because you think, oh, okay, and you just pass over it. But Einstein said, time is an illusion, albeit a persistent one.
Like Einstein said.
And yes, Einstein said that. He said, time is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. Okay? Now, he also coined space-time, which means that you can't have space without time, because what is time? Time is the distance.
It's actually mass.
Right. It's actually mass, but what I'm talking about is time is the measurement of distance between two places.
Between the mass and distance.
Right. It's a measurement, but you can't have space without time. All right. If time
is the fourth dimension.
If time is an illusion, then it's not real. It doesn't exist. And if time doesn't exist, then space doesn't exist. So when we say time travel, what are we traveling in if it doesn't exist?
What are you traveling to?
You're traveling in your own consciousness, because that's what creates time. Is time, if we stepped out of this box of our reality.
There were certain people capable of that didn't have to go through a portal to do it.
Well, the portal would be themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. And some people, they're their own portal. Matter of fact, I believe that everybody has that potential to be their own portal. But these portals were made for let's say, initiations. It was to, I think that it was for, people that maybe they didn't really believe, they just thought it was, this or that. Or it was to strengthen someone, to strengthen their faith or their belief in it. And when they went through it, they came back and they were changed. I mean, they were empowered. But this is just it, is if there's no space and there's no time, then if there's no time, then there's no time travel. It's like Einstein said, time is not linear. He said,
exactly like Michelle said.
He said it is one, it's like a spiral going down into a point, a vortex. But it ends in a point where everything is happening all at one time. But from our perspective is everything. From our perspective,
from our perspective, the reason is we have mass. No one can occupy our space, our particular space, in time. Only us. That makes us. Our mass is unique.
Well, there again, an atom is 99.99% empty space. So, another thing, Einstein, oh man, he's brilliant. Okay, he says that there can never be a test that's not compromised. And people are like, well, why not? He says, because, he said, it can never yield true results because the results are always going to be tainted. They're always going to be interfered with.
Tainted by the observer.
By the observer. That's what I'm saying.
So why wouldn't they want to control our minds and completely mess with us and give us the wrong information?
Right. But what I'm saying is when you say mass, Einstein says that he went further than that and said that mass that you see, even your body, he says it exists as a probability. It exists as a wave. When you observe it, your mind makes it into particles. Your mind makes it real. So that means that and
that's been proved with the double slit experiment.
Exactly. And so that proves that really, as far as our bodies, as far as the world around us, it does not exist. It does not exist in the way that we think it does. It only exists to us. Now, think about someone that is advanced. They are outside of our box of reality, okay? And they're looking into it. What do you think they see? They don't see anything. They may see our spirit. They may see some activity, but nothing. They would see nothing but that. Why? Because it only is in our world. Our minds create it. So to someone outside of our reality, our box of reality, they would look in it and they wouldn't see anything because nothing really exists. Michelle, you say we need to change our mass, I think, by living in a higher awareness and by living by higher principles. Well, there again, change our mass.
Well,
your mass is
energy,
an
but
illusion.
Also, eating right and exercising.
Change your spirit, your spiritual
mind, body, spirit.
Right. Which I may be wrong, but when you get down to it, the body is just what our spirit, our minds use, our consciousness uses to get around in this world that we have made real. that we make
and
real.
because we have that power, they do not want us to know that.
Right.
Hence, Edward Bernays and, other
Now,
social experiments.
truth of the fact about, well, I think that it proves it, of our bodies not actually existing, as strange as that sounds, excuse me, is that the portals, when people travel through the portals, their body does not go. It's their spirit, their essence, the true you goes, not your body. Why? Because your body simply doesn't exist. It exists only in your mind. Only your spirit, your mind, your consciousness goes. Okay, Mom. See you then. Love you. But that's what takes place. Now, it has been said.
Shirley.
It has been said that Sue Ellen, that's my mom, Shirley, Mom Sue Ellen. But there have been accounts of people, and this has been like recently, within the last few years, or maybe I say last few years, like 15 years. There have been people who have tried, and Michelle, the main thing about these portals are they're not to be taken lightly. And when you know the name of one, or you know the location of one, it is very, very well. You cannot just approach one, and because it can end very, very badly, and it has. People have been killed, and not only killed, but what was left of them, what looked like that they had been the recipient of a direct, like, nuclear blast. I mean, they were just fried. So there's some component, there's some part, or some power in these portals, in these places, that is tremendous power. Like nuclear power. I don't think it's nuclear. I think that it's something very similar. But it is, nevertheless, it is so powerful that the body, and see, these people probably, they had no idea and tried to enter bodily, and it ended very, very badly for them. Now, what
Do you mind if I name them?
No. Well, you can name them if you want.
Very interesting.
But there are all kinds of portals that are listed on the internet, and I guarantee you, most there are some that are right, but say out of 12, there are maybe 4 that they have right. Okay, but
yeah, they're saying the Bermuda Triangle, Algerian megaliths, Indus Valley, Hawaii, the Hamakoa volcano, the Devil's Sea in Japan, South Atlantic anomaly, Wharton Basin, Easter Island megalith, east of Rio de Janeiro, Loyalty Island, the North Pole, and the South Pole.
okay, now that is very interesting because these.
What's interesting too is remember the poles are shifting.
You're right.
So essentially, the North Pole is going to be in Siberia.
Well, get this.
So instead of having reindeers, we'll have Siberian Huskies to run the sled.
Well, get this, whenever Jesus said in the Bible, he said in those days, he says, the queen of the south will rise in judgment of the king, against the king of the north, or will, right. What he's talking about is he's talking about the South Pole. And the king of the north is the North Pole. He's not talking about a literal queen of the South. And that's what people need to understand. My God, if you could understand that, if you could grasp that, and don't worry, I'm just like most other people. When somebody comes up to me and they start talking about the Bible, I'm automatically turned off. Why? Because I feel like that they are only talking to me because they want to convert me, and they don't have to, because it's just simply not needed. And
there is an incident in the Bible. Do you remember when Jesus actually had the apostles, Abraham, the three? Who showed Abraham, Moses, and somebody else?
It was Moses and Elijah.
Was that the Transfiguration? Is that what they called it?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Something like that?
Yes. And they were there, and apparently they were there in bodily form too, or they appeared to be,
you know
because
the
Peter wanted to build
out-of-body experiences, lucid dreaming.
Right, because Peter wanted to build tabernacles for them, and he was thinking, wow, we got Moses and Elijah here, the two greatest prophets ever, and with Jesus we can conquer Rome. Let's build them some tabernacles so they can stay here. And Jesus is like, no, that's not how it works, And but that's what has been said. That's the truth. Is the Bible, you can't take it literally, because if you're trying to find the Queen of the South, you're never going to find her. She doesn't exist. It's the South Pole. Rises in judgment, rises to, and he said, and this is very important information. He says the king of the north, the North Pole's positive, the South Pole's negative. You have the male, you have the female, you have the duality, the polarities. It's just like a battery. What do you have when you connect? The positive and negative. You got power. Power. Boom, you got power. Now, if you think about it, if you have positive and negative, why would that create power? Because they actually repel each other. It's like taking two magnets and turning them around like horseshoe magnets, turning them around and pressing them together. And it's hard to, but think about pressing them together and then taping them together. And the power, the force there that's always repelling, pushing, but the positive and the negative, it's very, very strange how that power, when they're connected, power is produced. But the portals, they have no, there's nothing like the plasma that you see in the movies, or the shimmering, gel-like things that people walk through and everything. It's just, there are places that you would walk by every day and you'd never know. But the way that people enter them, the way that people access them, is they intend to. They want to. Or in rare cases, they just maybe open to it, or like Michelle said, genetically or spiritually open to it, or
inclined.
Yeah, and they just wander. Maybe subconsciously they're drawn to it, and they just wander in. But now it's very, very shocking that that in northern Spain, which is part of this very dualistic reality world, or whatever, where the worlds seemingly collide. There in the 1940s or 1950s, maybe 60s, there was a man that knew about the portal there in the area. That's exactly right. You have to be, your frequency, your vibration has to be attuned to it. As a matter of fact, you have to prepare for it physically, mentally, and spiritually before you go through it. And it's a grueling process. I mean, it really is. It's like a 12-step process. It's very grueling. I mean, it is actually, that's right, mindset and diet, but it's actually so grueling that you die to yourself. Your ego dies. Because you cannot enter the portal. You cannot do it with any ego. That's why people that do it for selfish gain, for ulterior motives, they're fried. They die. Is because I have no idea how that works, but it knows, or something knows your intentions, and if your intentions are not pure, then you're toast, literally. And it's like everything.
And maybe CERN is trying to figure out the code.
Well, I think CERN
to break it.
CERN really, the truth is they don't need. They're beyond that now because they have made their own portals. Well, our ego is, I think some people's egos are dying, but some are becoming stronger.
That would be an individual basis,
right? But what Jody Rose said about CERN is he said there are endless parallel realities. He says worlds just like this one. He says, but just endless. He says endless variations of it. He says, and you are in every one of those parallel realities. And he says, but they're just a little different in each one. He says, you might get up and get ready and go to work. In another, you may be off work that day. In another, you might not get out of bed. In another, you may not have even went to bed. In another, you might not even exist.
Every possible outcome that can occur.
Every possible outcome that can occur.
These are theories, though.
And, well, yes, but when you have someone of...
This is theoretic physics, though. It still has to be,
Yeah, but...
still has to be placed there. I mean, you can think of what the implications are.
Right,
and we are.
Well, he said...
Like,
he said that CERN, had punched or had made, basically punched...
By the force of blasting something to its smallest particle possible.
He said CERN...
The energy created in that.
He said CERN had punched holes in two other dimensions. And he says, and he said some people would call them angels, some people would call them demons. He said some people would call them good, some would call them evil. He says, but they're neither. He says they're very advanced beings, he said, much more advanced than us humans. And he says, and they're coming. They're on their way. They're coming like a swarm. And he said, it's not that they're good or bad. He said, they view us like we view an ant. He said, they simply don't give a shit about humanity. And I'm like, okay, what's wrong with this picture? Why would you, make a way for them to enter our existence, our world, if that's the case, that they don't give a damn about us. They would squash us like we squash an ant and think nothing of it. And then I started to think, well, for someone that would allow, or that would make a way for dimensional beings, which, yeah, that's exactly what they are, dimensional entities or whatever, and please, just try to look at this not as I'm saying, I hate using the word demon and ghost and things like that. I'm talking about dimensional entities, dimensional energies that are sentient. I mean, they are persons. They are people per se. And but I'm thinking the only reason why that you would do that is if you had made a deal with them, or they had made a deal with you. Let us in to your reality, and we won't squash you like an ant. Matter of fact, we'll reward you. I mean, really. I mean, if you think about it,
that goes back, wasn't it? Anton LaVey and all their microbes.
Well,
the interdimensional beings that they supposedly would connect with.
Well, Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, he was, in my opinion, he was a showman. He really didn't have. He was like Howard Stern. He liked shocking people. I mean, he really did. He even admitted it. And people said, "Well, do you worship Satan?"
So did Aleister Crowley. He liked messing with people's head because he saw himself as intellectually superior.
Well, he was. I mean,
yeah.
the guy was scary. I mean, the guy was powerful, and his protege, the one that actually created solid rocket fuel, Jack Parsons, that JPL Laboratories, JPL Laboratories in Pasadena. This guy was the successor to Aleister Crowley, and he was very powerful too. Matter of fact, he died in an explosion doing. He was on a magical, and I'm talking real magic, a very, very dark magical working, and blew himself up. Now, one thing is,
and then Aleister Crowley got his wife, or before that, while he was alive.
What now?
He stole his wife.
No, that was his good buddy. You might have heard of him, L. Ron Hubbard, of the Church of Scientology.
Right. I'm sorry. Yes.
No, that's fine. Yeah. L. Ron Hubbard took Jack Parsons' wife and set sail, and or maybe it was.
They were all involved in that time period together.
Yes, they were. But Crowley said that Parsons was his successor, his spiritual son or whatever. And Parsons was really, really wicked. I mean, he was really evil and sick. And but when he blew himself up in his garage in his Pasadena house, he, of course, died. What many people don't know is that his mother, who he had a relationship with, yes, not only with his wife, but with his mother, and it had gone on yes, she committed suicide. She took a handful of pills and she killed herself that same day because she could not live without him. Now, that's like very, very. I mean, there were things that went on in the life and the house of Jack Parsons that I can't even talk about on here. I mean, I'd have to label it as explicit because, and trust me, you wouldn't want to hear it anyway. But the reason for that is because of the power that it generates, whether it be dark or light. I mean, but the Jack Parsons and L. Ron Hubbard, they spent 2 weeks in the Mojave Desert doing rituals, magical rituals, occult rituals, and many of them were having sex with each other. I mean, they were out there in the desert.
It's called, sex magic.
As disgusting as it sounds, with L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons, but they were out there having sex with each other, doing these magical rituals, and they were doing the magical working called the Babylon working, and the truth is they were actually punching holes in the fabric of space-time, in our reality, to allow this Babylon, this demon, this power to enter this realm. And they spent 2 weeks doing that. Now, the proof that they succeeded is when they finished, they went back to Parsons' home, and the next morning, a woman appeared on Jack Parsons' doorstep, literally. Red hair, blue eyes, and knockout. I mean, this woman was beautiful, very sensual, very, I mean, just like bright red hair, deep blue eyes. I mean, the woman was gorgeous. Guess what? In the book of Revelation, it describes the quote-unquote whore of Babylon. And that's what they did, was they literally they tunneled, okay? You could call it quantum tunneling, because when it comes down to it, your mind, this is my theory, your mind is basically runs much like a quantum computer, if it's not actually that. I mean, it's very similar. But they did quantum tunneling, when I say punching holes through reality, through this reality. And it's amazing, the next morning, this woman is on his doorstep, and she's come to be his wife. And they get married. And her name was Marjorie Cameron. And you can look this up. This is not something that, this is not some fable.
It's a crazy story.
It truly is. Okay, Marjorie Cameron went on.
Barbara Bush. Look at Barbara Bush.
Yes.
She looks exactly like Crowley.
Yes, Crowley could very well be her father, because when her mother, now get this, her mother was where? In southwestern France. When Crowley was in southwestern France. Yes. And
the Basque area again.
Yes. And that's also very, very close to where this 40 square mile place is, if not part of it. And so what you have is you have the largest percentage of Rh negative blood the bass,
negative.
and then you have well, you say everything is reversed. The whore is most likely a saint. Maybe so, but what this describes is it describes a woman who is drinking people's blood that she's gotten rich off of using them, and I see that.
Yeah, what year was this?
I see that as organized religion.
What year was this with Crowley and all that?
Crowley died in 1947, but
no, like with the Babylon Workings when they were all at their peak. That was in the
Babylon
the
Working?
1930s.
No,
huh?
No. Babylon Working was in the, I believe it was the 1940s.
Okay.
Let me check and make sure. I think it was 1947.
They discovered Rh negative blood in 1901.
Okay.
So that's when a lot of the black magic, you hear about, even people believing in drinking blood.
The Babylon Working was a series of magic ceremonies or rituals performed from January to March 1946, a year before Crowley died, by author, pioneer, rocket fuel scientist Jack Parsons and Church of Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard. And now, keep this in mind. The Babylon Working was very, very closely, this is crazy, but you have to understand how that, this was 1946, okay? They said they punched holes, that they tunneled through into another dimension
in order to bring another entity.
In order to allow this Babylon to enter this, And then the next year, what happens? You have 1947. Supposedly you have Roswell, where there's a UFO that crashes. Then you have Kenneth Arnold, who sees these UFOs, he calls them flying saucers. And then that's when everything began.
And then what was the big radio experiment where they did the alien invasion? What year was that?
I think that was in the 30s with Orson Welles. But the Babylon Working, many say that it is very, very closely related to, and basically the information, it's very, very closely related to the atomic bomb, the development of the atomic bomb. That, now, I find that kind of strange because the Babylon Working was in 1946, and the atomic bomb was dropped, 1945, 1944, 1945, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was before that, so I don't buy into that. But that doesn't mean that the information, the technology for the atom bomb wasn't, responsible. But it's you can look it up. Matter of fact, I'm going to put it here. It's BABALON.
August 6, 1945.
Okay. Yes, August 6.
The Babylon Working was 46.
46. Okay. Yes. So
they inherently understood. Yeah.
Right. So, but there's a video on YouTube called Babylon Working, and it says, "Do not watch. Don't watch this because it's maybe it's for clickbait, whatever." Yeah, I'm certainly going to watch it. But you know,
But you know what I think the Roswell whole thing was for, and the whole Orson Welles for? I really, truly believe they wanted to start experimenting on people, different blood types, understanding what it is. So in their ruse, they can do it because the people that have been abducted, the majority are reported to be Rh negative.
right. There's a big
I don't think
majority.
anything to do with aliens. I think it's all military, all a ruse, all a beta test.
Well, one thing about this is that Crowley in 19 yes, I happen to believe that it's psyops. You know, it's people show up
They
dressed as
they call it beta testing.
dressed as as a gray or whatever, and or whatever, but the technology that they use, like you take like Travis Walton that was pulled up into the ship or whatever. Well, trust me, you have no idea the technology that they have now. They just don't make it public. So
my anthropology teacher said that his I don't know, his father worked in technology, or his friend's father, and when the black and white TV came out, he said they were going over to his house and watching a colored TV.
He said that who was coming over?
He said that his father worked in technology.
Uh-huh.
Okay, really big, and I guess when black and white TVs came out, he said that they actually went to his house. They saw there was a color TV.
Amazing.
This is this is just what my anthropology teacher said.
Well, one thing about it is when you take the fact that in 1947 is when what was developed, the transistor, and all these things needed for computing. Now the truth is I believe that these portals are nothing more than like wormholes. They're not natural. They're technology. And the reason I say that is because there was a man that frequented southwestern France, northern Spain, that area, and they called him the El Americano. Matter of fact, there's a cafe there that changed its name to the El Americano because this man would come in to the cafe or restaurant or club or whatever, and he would always order milk. And he would drink milk. That's all he would drink. Okay. Later on, he was supposedly at Montauk Point, Long Island, which is one of the portals. Montauk Point.
Had the experiments.
Yes, Camp Hero.
Suppose, I mean.
And but this man was there and was supposedly under the water, under the ocean there, because it's right on the ocean, and he had a bunker or he had something. And trust me, this man had the money to have whatever he wanted, and it may have been a type of submarine that was docked there at that point for a reason, is because this El Americano went to southwestern France and actually took architects with him, and they went to this to this portal, and they took measurements and they began making artificial portals based on the main one for this man. And
they're like reverse engineering.
yes, and there were people that were present at this place in Montauk when this man came down, and to see how things were progressing, because they were all working on perfecting these artificial portals. And he came down in his pajamas, and it was none other than Howard Hughes.
Wow.
And Howard Hughes was a big proponent of the portals. And matter of fact, he made quite a few, because it's been said that NASA still search and want to know if there's any artificial portals, because if they know about it, then they're going to destroy it. Why? Because they don't want you to access it. They don't want anybody to access it. And now, on a personal note, in 2007, I was doing research. As a matter of fact, it was 2008. I was doing research on these very portals, and there's not just 12. There's 13. There's a hidden portal.
As in all the secret societies.
Right. It's a hidden portal because it's based on the zodiac. The 13th sign is hidden, of course. Many people have said that's been yes, the serpent handler, and then you have the 12 sons
yes,
of
Patricia, the War of the Worlds broadcast. I don't know if we said that to her.
Oh no. Oh, okay, I didn't even see it. But the what was really very strange about that is that I completely lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. I did
No, it's fine. It's fine. What
you were talking?
What was I talking about?
You were talking about the wormholes.
Yeah. Okay.
And they would destroy them.
Oh, okay. Yes. So they don't want people accessing those. Why? Because you become like a time lord. You control. I mean, you can certainly have an effect, or not exactly have an effect on the past or the future. But what you can do, I mean, if this is in fact possible, and I believe it is, you create new timelines where things turn out quite differently. Well, what I'm saying is that CERN talks very matter-of-factly, very openly about that there are parallel universes that can be accessed, and information can be gathered from these parallel universes and brought back here. And I'm thinking, okay, that's a little strange, because how do you know that what you're accessing in an alternate reality is something that is safe to be brought back here, or something that would be beneficial and not destructive or very harmful if it was brought back? And one thing about a portal is it goes both ways. It's not just a place where you enter. It's a place where things also can come through. And there's no, there's a type of filter, I guess you could say spiritually. There's a type of filter that can be used, and those who who have died, those who have suffered the consequences of not using what's called quote unquote a filter have died. I mean, they've been killed. So I'm not sure what that is, but I would say that it would be like you've heard in the fables, you've heard in the stories about the Holy Grail, the Horn of Plenty, this and that the sword of King Arthur being pulled out of the stone, that those who do that must have a pure heart. Must have a pure heart.
Listen to this, what you're saying. This is very interesting because the definition of a portal is a doorway, gate, or other entrance, especially a large and imposing one. Or, like you were saying that the internet was linked, a website or web page providing access or links to other sites.
That's right.
So now I'm really understanding what you're saying.
Because this is the kicker, is...
I was thinking more wormhole. Wormhole's different. You go someplace. You
right.
go in the wormhole and you get someplace. Portal, they're different.
This is what I believe, is I believe that the portals were actually created by none other than a quantum computer.
Yeah.
And that's why that people that
and it's what could be generating our reality too.
It is. Think. Let me put this on the chat. Look up church Turing theory.
Church what?
Church Turing, and I just now put it down. The church Turing theory was made in the 40s or 50s, and they actually say
it's a hypothesis about the nature of computable functions.
Yes, but it goes further than that. They said that it was their belief that at the center or at the edge of every universe. Now, this is what they said. And since the universe is constantly expanding, so to speak, I don't know how you would go to the edge. But anyway, they said at the center or the edge of every universe lies a quantum computer that was responsible for creating the entire
our whole
thing.
Reality.
Yes. Now, you take what they said, what Church and Turing said. You take that along with what Tesla said. He said, I know that there lies in the universe a storehouse or a center, he says, of vast knowledge. He said, I have located it, but I have not yet indulged in its knowledge or something like that. But I'm telling you, Tesla knew, Church Turing knew that, hey Nazarene, glad you joined us. Church Turing knew, Tesla knew. What he was talking about was he was talking about that very thing. He was talking about
and
a quantum computer.
How could a man like Tesla go into absolute poverty and destitute? You know,
Right.
They stole everything.
Well, he didn't care. I mean, he really did not care about money, materialism.
No, he wanted free energy for people.
Right.
He wanted to help, and
Right.
it was Edison who was a real crappy individual.
Oh yeah. Well,
and ended up
Thomas
taking most everything from him, right?
Tesla was the brightest scientist, was the brightest mind. Tesla was the best scientist, the best mind. Einstein was the best advertiser. Not Einstein. Thomas Edison was the best salesman, the best marketing.
Yeah, Yeah.
He
And
he
so
could sell
he
anything.
sounds like Trump.
Yeah. But
Well,
Tesla,
an alternate reality, like the what's the movie Back to the Future?
right?
What was his name? Biff.
Yeah,
When Biff won the world.
right. But what you have to think about is if that is the case, and when you read about probably search church Turing theory, quantum computer universe or something like that, it'll come up, and it's very, very interesting because this was written a long time ago, and for them to know, to have the knowledge of quantum computing, which this is something that I've talked about in recent shows, is that Dr. James Gates, back in I think 2012, he actually discovered a code in the fabric of reality itself. I mean, and this code was very, very strange because he said that it was. He said I looked at it and he said it was code that that just like he says, well, not just like, he says very, very similar to the same code that you would use in your browser. He said computer code. He said, but an advanced form of computer code. He said very advanced. He said, matter of fact, he said it was like.
So you can potentially have the power to create your own universe.
Yes,
fact.
he said that it was actually an advanced. It appeared to be an advanced, very advanced version of the Shannon codes, which Claude Shannon, the father of, well, one of the fathers of modern, computing, back in the 40s, Claude Shannon made this system called the Shannon codes of symbols that symbolized probabilities. Now that brings you to the observer. Everything that is not observed, every possible thing, you have all probabilities until you observe one thing, or you observe something, a scene, or think of it as like, instead of a motion picture, like life, think of it as what a motion picture is. It's a series of individual pictures, photos, that are running so fast together that you can't tell that it's not one fluid, thing. And Claude Shannon said that used these symbols as probabilities. So when Einstein says that when the observer observes a certain picture, a certain pixel, let's say, pixel in life, boom, 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 that when they observe one, all other probabilities fall. They collapse. The waves collapse. Because everything's waves.
A particle.
Everything's waves until you observe it. And when you observe the one thing, it becomes particles, and all the other waves collapse. That's the definition of when you hear somebody say wave collapse. That's what they're talking about. Is the probabilities. You have just made a choice by simply observing, and you've caused every other probability.
Just like Michelle said, they want to dumb us down, so we have no idea of the power that we really have.
That's right, and that is always been the case.
You had a whole podcast on that.
Oh yeah, and that has always been the case, and it always will be. But the proof is in the pudding. Is they want you to think that they're all powerful. They want you to think they're all knowing. They want you to think that they're what? That they're God, and they're not. Because if they were, they wouldn't be threatened, and they wouldn't be always searching for more power.
No. But we do have to realize that they're very, very, very smart. And if we don't smarten up ourselves and start researching and being proactive and, passing it on to our children, we're pretty screwed.
Right. Well, it certainly would be beneficial for people to really, a
Not
lot
to be scared,
right.
to be scary, to observe, to learn, to question, to read.
I've talked to so many people, and they say, well, I don't believe in that. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, but you may not believe in a lot of things, but they're true. And this is not conspiracy. This is not, I'm not some conspiracy theorist. I'm not saying that portals are real. I'm just saying that I'm just putting it out there and letting you make up your own mind.
And this is something a lot of people think of. You have to remember, like even Nancy Reagan, had seances in the White House.
Yeah.
She had an astrologer. She had a medium. These people are very interested in the occult.
Well, it's like if people say, they say, well, astrology is it's evil and everything. Really? Well,
no.
Jesus in the Bible, he said at the Last Supper, he tells the disciples, he says, go and get the food, and he says you will meet a man with a pitcher of water. What's he talking about? Yeah, he's talking about Aquarius, the age of Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
everything is time and it's space, and we all have our unique place and time, and geometrically that we were born, and that makes us who we are. And they don't want us to know that stuff.
What is really, really shocking in many ways is that the truth is, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously, truth is you are in control. You have the power to be in control. Now, the other truth is it scares a lot of people, maybe you, or scares most people, to have no power, but interestingly, it also scares them to have power. And you have enormous power. But, like I said, some people are just as scared, or they fear having that enormous power just as much as they fear being powerless.
Right.
Don't fear it. Don't be afraid. And use it for good, and because this world desperately needs it. And
that's what I think. That's what I think of when they say faith. Have faith.
Yes.
It's me releasing my fear and releasing myself into the next moment, no matter how scary or whatever. But
Absolutely.
Learning to stay calm and keep my wits about me.
Well, I've had people say, ask me, when will all of my fear go away? And I'm like, well, I hate to tell you this, but it never does. It never does. It's always going to be there.
Well, it does with some things. You get used to, and you get good at things.
Yes.
And you get comfortable, and you know how it works.
What you do is
You've done it enough times, but there's always something else.
What you do is you learn to make the fear work for you, the energy. And
right.
It's just that.
Fear
is energy.
A feeling of anxiety and joy are the same thing.
Right.
It's the way our mind.
It is energy that it's the way you process it. So
you collapse a particle and you say
right.
if it's fear or you say if it's excitement.
Absolutely. That's great. Absolutely. So it's when you are really, really scared, when you're terrified, think of that. Think of how much energy that is. And then think of how you can make that work for you instead of against you. And when you do, God, I feel sorry for your enemies. I feel sorry for the person attacking you or the army, because that is tremendous. That is so powerful, and just.
Hey, when I'm angry, I clean. That's what I do. I started doing something constructive with my anger. I made myself mentally do that. So instead of breaking something, damaging something, hurting, saying something
I floss
bad,
my teeth with rusty barbed wire. I said I floss my teeth with rusty barbed wire when I get mad. So.
So you're like, was there those Catholic ones that what would you call it? Flagging themselves?
Yes,
or?
flogging. Yes, with the.
Flogging.
Yes, oof, or wearing the.
Punishing themselves.
Or wearing the cilice as they do in Opus Dei with the.
Oh yeah.
They wear it on their thigh.
Sticking in you.
To suffer for Jesus. Yes, and it's like a claw thing that's metal, and it like digs into their thigh when they walk, and it's really just, I mean, man, talk about, I don't get it. I just don't get it. But anyway, we're at the 2-hour mark, the end of the show. I want to thank
you,
Sue Ellen
everybody,
for being new co-host, and thank you, Michelle, for being here, Mona, Patricia, Nazreen, everyone that took part, Mom, Shirley, let me see if I'm missing anybody.
See.
And just Sheila, thank you very much. But anyway, I'm in the process of, and I'll have it done tomorrow, making a Facebook group. Michelle, ew. I wish I had a nickel for every time. Anyway, I'm making a Facebook group for the podcast. So the things that we talk about, I can also add pictures, charts, and possibly transcriptions of the podcast and different articles, and you're welcome to add what you want to. And but I will have the information tomorrow night that I can share.
Oh, that's awesome.
With you.
Yeah, and you can put all the stuff you talk about up there.
Yeah, and absolutely, and also those that are members can also, you can interact and share things with each other, and so it's going to be really, really good. But if you need to contact me, you can contact me at texarcistpodcast@gmail.com. Anyway, if you have any show topics, any ideas that you would like to talk about, or you would like to hear discussed, let me know. And I am waiting to hear back from Pandora. The show may be picked up by Pandora. Yesterday, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Blueberry picked up the show, and so things are really picking up, and it's the number of listeners it's really, really growing. So thank everyone for listening and being a part, and I really appreciate it. And anyway.
And thank you. It was very nice to meet everyone.
Well, thank you, Sue Ellen. Anyway, love and light to you all. Love you all. Good night from Texas. See you next time.